Hello, Mon family. Welcome back. Monday. So let's start off this week with a realization that honestly shocked me a little as I got older. Growing up, I really thought adults have everything figured out. Like at some point in life, there was an invisible moment where suddenly you wake up and you just know. You know how life works. You know how to make decisions. You know how to handle money and relationships. Like adulthood came with like a full manual. I realized something that honestly is both terrifying and freeing. And it's that nobody really knows what they're doing. Now, before somebody listens and panics, like, wait, what do you mean? Let me explain. People do gain wisdom and people do gain experiences, and some people do become experts. But if we're being serious, most of life is learning while we're living.
This is MON, still showing up.
Hosted by Denise.
All right, Mon family. So I know you guys are probably thinking, okay, you left me with a cliffhanger, but there's more to come. So stay tuned. We're gonna start off with our Mon stories, and I called this last week. I called it. I said somebody was going to wake up late, and this was going to turn into a Mon story for today, Monday. So now you guys are listening, okay? On Sunday, I went to sleep around 2 to 3 a.m. because I was reading a book trying to make myself sleepy. You know, when you tell yourself just one more chapter and suddenly it's basically tomorrow. My alarm went off at 7:30 in the morning, but instead of hitting snooze like a normal responsible adult, I hit stop. Not snooze, not 5 more minutes. I basically told God, "Alrighty, Lord, it's in your hands." Like a divine intervention alarm clock. So I fall back to sleep. Next thing I know, I wake up and it's 8:25 a.m. and I have to be online for work at 8:30 a.m. In those extra minutes of sleep, I had a dream that my boss was asking me to meet at 9 a.m. So when I wake up and saw the time, I was panicking and somehow I still made it. And moments like that remind me of something funny about life. Sometimes we try to control every minute, every plan, every schedule. But every now and then, life reminds us you're not actually in control of everything. And honestly, that's okay because sometimes we feel, honestly, that's okay because what feels like chaos ends up working out anyways. Okay, that is so true. Yeah, honestly, we don't have control of our life. I feel like the only person who controls our life is God. But at least you survived the morning after daylight savings, unlike Mercedes. Now, this Mon story is called The Uber Black Realization. Okay, you like that title, The Uber Black Realization? You ever had an Uber Black? I usually try to take it for work, or sometimes I do like Uber Comfort.
I think your brother did Uber Blacks in China.
See? Corporate card.
Period.
Hopefully they don't listen to me. But anyways, so the other day I accidentally ordered Uber Black for the first time. Not because I was rich, I was actually running late. Regular Uber had a long wait time. Uber Black popped up. It was more expensive, and I stayed at the screen for like 10 minutes. Do I really want to make this financial decision right now? But I was late, so I clicked on it. The app asked me something that I've never seen before. It asked conversation preference. Options were small talk, minimal, or none. I said minimal because I was not trying to trauma dump on a stranger before 9 a.m. Then it asked me my temperature preference cool, warm, chilled. I picked cool. The car shows up 3 minutes later. Big, clean SUV, spotless inside, leather seats, no weird smell. You know how sometimes Uber smell like someone's lunch and bad decisions? Yeah, but I feel that. She said none of that. The driver greets me politely, hands me a cold bottle of water, and we just drive. No aggressive braking, no unnecessary honking, no loud music, no phone on his hand, just soft instrumental music and calm driving. When we arrived, he parked perfectly, steps out, opens the door and says, "Have a nice day, ma'am." That's it. And I realized something. Yes, I paid more, but I arrived calm, not drained, not annoyed, not overstimulated. And sometimes that's the real luxury in life, not the fancy things, the peace that comes with it. That is 100% true. And that is true. I feel like there's a lot of bad Uber experiences that I've had in the past, but I will say I like when they don't talk to you. That is the best kind of Uber when you don't talk to them, don't talk to me, just get me safe. And that's it. So I'm glad you got to your location safely. And not only that, but hopefully you take more Uber Black because
Treat yourself.
treat yourself exactly. And everything Black's always better. Let me stop. I'm not going to say that. Maybe
Want to go black?
you never go back. That is so true. That is true. All right, Mon family, continue sharing your Mon stories. Now, I know you guys are like, okay, you left me on a realization from my intro. But before I get started, I'm going to warm you guys up a little bit and I'm going to take you back to college, okay? Because think about this, I remember when I graduated college, because when you're younger, everybody's telling you the same thing. Go to college, get your degree, learn everything you need for life, right? Scam. So you go through the 4 years thinking, okay, by the time I graduate, I'm going to feel like a real adult. Like suddenly everything will make sense. Like the manual for life will download into my brain, right? And then I graduated and thought, wait, I still don't know what I'm doing, right? And if I'm being honest, half the things that I've learned were gone, right? Respectfully to my professors, right? I barely remember some of their names. And if I was to see them at Target today, I'd probably would walk past them and be like, why do you look so important? But I have no idea why, right? And then when you graduate and you apply for the jobs thinking you need to know everything, because I thought I needed to know everything that I learned in HR, right? But when you get hired, the first thing that they say is, don't worry, we'll train you. And that's when it literally just hit me. I'm like, maybe life was never about knowing everything before you start. Maybe life is about being willing to learn while moving, right? And even experts learn on the job, right? And this isn't just normal jobs, even the most respected professions in the world work this way, right? Doctors go through medical school for years, but then when they graduate, they suddenly don't know everything, right? They enter their residency where they're trained in hospitals and they continue learning, right? Same thing with lawyers, right? They study law, they pass the bar exam, and then they spend years learning on how to actually practice law, which means that even the people we trust with our health system and legal system didn't start out knowing anything. And if I'm being honest, our government still doesn't know shit. But they became experts the same way that everybody else does, right? By showing up, by making mistakes, by learning, by improving. And that leads to my question, right? That blew my mind, right? If doctors need residency, if doctors need practice, then why do we expect to have life figured out by age 25? Like, be serious. And then when you think about it, it's like we all have this adult mask realization, right? One of the most powerful ideas that I recently learned described adulthood like this, right? Most adults are basically wearing a mask, a grown up mask, right? We pretend to be adults and hope one day we finally feel like one, right? Because growing up, we assume adults had clarity, adults know what they're doing, right? Adults have the answers, but adulthood is mostly people carrying responsibilities while still trying to figure things out. For an example, like our parents, they're still trying to figure it out till this age, right? Leaders figuring it out, bosses figuring it out, entrepreneurs still figuring it out. And the wild part is that we assume everybody else is a real grown up while we are the ones pretending, right? And that's where that imposter syndrome comes from, right? People walk around thinking everybody else understands life except me. When reality, most people are just learning as they go. Right, Mercedes? We're all learning as we go. Shit, I still don't know what I'm gonna do tomorrow. And now, even psychology backs this up, right? And it's something, and I forgot the name of it. I think it was the Dunning Kruger effect. And basically, what it does, it shows that people who know the least about something often feel the most confident, right? But people who truly understand something, they recognize how complex it is, right? Which means that sometimes, and I'm sure you've heard this, right? The loudest person in the room isn't the smartest. They're just the most comfortable sounding confident. And us humans, we naturally follow confidence. And here's the truth about successful people, right? Living or navigating adulthood, right? Many of the most successful people in history admitted they had no idea what they were doing at first, right? When you look at Steve Jobs, he once said, everything around you that you call life was made up by people no smarter than you. And think about that, right? The phones we use, the companies we work for, the systems we live in. Someone created those things while still trying to figure it out, right? Remember when Oprah was fired from her first news job, and then the person who wrote Harry Potter, right? JW something, she was a struggling mother. And even Einstein, like I said this before, they told him he wouldn't amount to much. The difference wasn't uncertainty, the difference was persistence. The difference was that they kept showing up, right? And to back this up a little bit further, right? Growing up in a Latino household, you learn this early on, right? Because our parents had the ultimate authority phrase, right? Porque yo lo digo, right? Because I said so. Like, no explanation, no debate, just authority. And as kids, we thought our parents knew everything because as adults, we realized something beautiful. They were figuring it out too. Okay. They were raising children while learning life at the same time, right? Our parents were working, sacrificing, making decisions without that perfect roadmap, but they were still showing up, right? And to I just thought about this, right? Like how many times in life we follow somebody simply because they sound confident, right? You ever seen like groups, right? One person says, all right, guys, this is the fastest way, and everybody just follows. Like nobody checks Google, nobody checks the map app, right? Next thing you know, they're all lost and they're lost altogether. And somehow it feels like teamwork, right? That's literally life sometimes. Okay. You'll notice in groups, there's always that one person walking fast, like they know exactly where they're going and everybody will just follow them like, you know, disciples. 10 people behind them. Yeah, he looks like he knows. And the whole time he's just walking fast so nobody questions him. So it's just funny how life works, right? And this is when faith becomes really important because if we waited to understand everything before moving, we would never move. And really think about that, right? If you had to see the entire outcome of your life before making a decision, you would probably never make one. You would just sit there and be like, okay, God, before I apply for this job, can you show me the next 15 years? Or before I move to this city, can you show me the full timeline? Before I start this business, God, can you guarantee the success? And honestly, life does not work that way, unfortunately, right? Because the Bible says, for we walk by faith, not by sight, right? And that was in 2 Corinthians 5:7. Not by certainty, not by perfect plans, not by guarantee, by faith. Faith is trusting the next step, even when the rest of the road is foggy. And honestly, God rarely shows you the full suitcase, right? He'll show you the next step because if he showed you the entire journey at once, you're going to panic, right? And you'll quit before you even start. And let me be honest with you, half of the things that we're scared of aren't even real problems yet. They're just imaginary future problems. We're stressed about things that haven't even happened yet, or we're planning arguments with people who we haven't even disagreed with, right? And I mean, have you ever done that? You're in the shower arguing with someone in your head and you're winning the whole argument too, like a full speech prepared, right? And then the person never says the thing. And now you're just standing there mad at the conversation that never happened. That's how our minds work sometimes, right? We try to solve the entire future before we take step one. But faith says, right, take the step and trust that the next step will reveal itself when you get there. Here's the question I want to leave you thinking about this week, right? How many decisions in your life have you avoided simply because you assumed everybody else knew more than you? How many opportunities did you hesitate on? How many ideas did you keep to yourself? How many chances did you talk yourself out of it because you believed somebody else had it more figured out? When the truth is, a lot of those people were just moving forward with confidence, not with certainty. And there's a difference. Now, I want to leave you with this story. And I heard this story once about a man that was hiking through the mountains at night. And there was no moon, no street lights, pitch black. All he had was a small flashlight. And that flashlight didn't show him the whole path. It only lit up about 10 steps in front of him, right? And that's it. So he stopped and he said to the guide, "How am I supposed to finish this trail if I can't even see the whole way?" And the guy told him something that, just kind of sticks with you, right? And he said, "You don't need to see the whole path. You just need to see the 10 steps," right? So the man kept walking 10 steps, then 10 steps more, then 10 steps more, and eventually he made it out of the mountain. Not because he can see the entire road, but because every time he moved forward, the light moved with him. And I want you to think about this Monday, right? If Monday starts and you don't have the full map, that's okay. You don't need the entire road. You just need the next step. And sometimes that's enough. Something that really blew my mind when I learned it, and it was human civilization itself was not built by people who were figuring things out in real life, right? In real time. Think about this, right? The first people who built cities have never seen a city before. The first people who built ships have never crossed the ocean before. The first people who invented airplanes, they were experimenting, trying, failing, adjusting. Imagine the Wright brothers telling people they were building a flying machine. People probably looked at them like, yeah, okay. But they kept trying anyways. And eventually the whole world changed, which meant something that we rarely think about. Everything around you right now, the buildings, the technology, the companies, the systems, all of it started as an idea, right? In somebody's head. Someone who did not have, full certainty, right? Someone who was just simply trying. Right. So when we say nobody knows what they're doing, that doesn't mean that people are just clueless. It means humans learn by building the plane while flying it. We're learning while doing, or we improve while moving, we grow while trying. And that realization will either scare you or it can free you because nobody starts with perfect certainty, then you don't need to either. And as I end this mon, maybe the goal in life isn't to have every answer. Maybe the goal in life is to become someone brave enough to move forward without having them yet, right? Because the world isn't run by people who know everything. It's run by people who kept showing up while they were still trying to figure it out. I'm pretty sure Trump is still trying to figure things out. And that's what Mon's about, right? Even when you don't have everything figured out right now, especially on a Monday, right? Because sometimes the bravest thing that you can do is to take a step back before you feel ready. And this Monday, as you're going to work or whatever you're doing right now, if it feels uncertain, that's okay. Take that step anyways. And always remember to continue showing up for yourself. I'll be here. Same time, same place, still showing up. Bye now.